Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 21st episode of the Fans of DC Universe podcast, the only DCU podcast for the fans, by the fans, and the best source for all DC Universe news and discussion on everything DCU. Joining us this week, we have Ant.Leon,
Greetings.
TornadoSoup,
Hello.
and me, Nathan.Payson. This week on Fans of DC Universe, we are talking about Titans Episode 12, Stargirl, and more. But before we start, I want to let you know to make sure to tune in next week when we interview Joshua Lapin-Bertone, or however you pronounce the name. He's one of the writers or news writers on DCU, and it'll be really interesting to hear about the process and some of the other stuff he does. But without further ado, let's jump into Titans. In episode 12, Rose got her time to shine, and Dick Grayson got his new costume. So, what do you think?
It was kind of like the whole Rose thing was a little bit of a rush job in a way, but it was thorough, and they had to cover all the bases from her finding out about her powers, and then when she finally meets Slade and the whole being a traitor, and now we're caught up. And I like that there's a suit guy that you have to go to that for the the super suit, so to speak. That is
Yeah, he kind of felt like Gamby or whatever his name is in Black Lightning and throughout the comics.
Yes.
And I also loved his obsession with fruitcake. That's like my main takeaway from that episode.
That fruitcake is in continuity.
Yeah, it was. I don't know why, but that was the hardest I've laughed at anything in the show. I don't know how much of it was. At least part of it had to be a joke. Just his insistence on the beauty of fruitcake, but there was just something so absurd about just automatically turning from shoes being the metaphor for supersuits to fruitcake still being a metaphor for supersuits. And and I just loved how hard he went into just giving his all to those fruitcakes and then lighting it on fire.
I know, right? But okay, so here's the question. He has this whole lab behind him, right? What else does he do?
Yeah.
What is he paying all the workers to do back there?
I assume that he's paid by Bruce Wayne. Like it's just a division of Wayne Enterprises that's kept off the books, or maybe it's like part of the
Batman
R&D. Yeah, maybe he's like a level below Lucius Fox. Because Lucius can't do all of the stuff that he has to do for Batman, so maybe he's the guy that maybe he's like Lucius Fox's Robin.
Well, Lucius Fox is like the vehicles and that kind of equipment, and this guy is the personnel, the suit.
Yeah.
He was like Gamby, and it's just comics, and it's Wayne money, because he did say Master Wayne. He did say he refers to that was the reference that he used.
Well, then maybe he worked with Alfred. Maybe that's how. He was Alfred used to be a stage performer. Maybe this guy Stu, whatever his name was, worked in the theater doing costumes and stuff, and then when Bruce became Batman, Alfred went to him, and now maybe he's paid by not just Bruce Wayne, but Oliver Queen and Ted Kord and all the other rich superheroes, so that all of his assets can be used by superheroes whenever they need.
That's a good one. I can run with that.
I'm trying to do some research right now, see if I can figure out who Stu might be, but I'm coming up blank.
Because my thing with the fruitcake was, I need a new pair of shoes, because he knew exactly who he was, and then he went on with, because then it was about you burnt the suit, because when he lit the fruitcake on fire, it was more like the metaphor was I'm dealing with fruitcakes, literally, and what you don't like. It's like a lack. I don't know. It was just a weird kind of metaphor that way.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
I've
could
come
have.
up blank.
Yeah,
So he could be just totally original.
yeah. I get the feeling that they like wanted to use Gamby, but he's already in Black Lightning, so they kind of just took his character and then you know made some small tweaks to change him into Stu. Um,
He's like a Gambi type. He's a Q from 007.
yeah, I mean they've done that kind of stuff before. Like they had Devil Ray in Justice League Unlimited because they weren't allowed to use Black Manta. He was basically Black Manta, but just never called that, and there were some small things that they changed so that they didn't get in trouble with Warner Brothers or I can't remember why exactly they weren't allowed to use Aquaman during that final season of Justice League, but
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, I have no idea what we're talking about.
They couldn't use Black Manta for whatever reason, so they created Devil Ray, which is a Black Manta knockoff, basically, just to have a C villain and a sub, I guess, for whatever reason.
That's super weird. It's fascinating. He looks
because there was like
exactly like Black Manta too.
Warner Brothers had because at this time there was also a bat embargo because of the because Warner Brothers was really like pushing not sharing characters, so like they couldn't use any Batman characters on that last season of JLU besides Batman because the Batman was running at the same time, and then the Batman couldn't use Scarecrow or Two-Face because they were in the Christopher Nolan movies. And then I think Aquaman was affected in a similar way because they were trying to get that pilot through on the WB. So they didn't
Yeah.
want the characters passing between. And then I think there was also a Wonder Woman embargo at that time too. But both Wonder Woman and Cheetah were in the last season of JLU, so I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, I get that. So I'm excited about him getting the suit, but let's be realistic here. We really should have gotten the suit last season. Like, why is it taking so long to get the suit?
I don't know. They like the slow burn. It can work. I'm sticking with it. I want to see how it plays out, and hopefully, it'll be a good conclusion. They can leave a few things open, but basically a good conclusion to the season. They come together, Titans together, because they can protect each other. The whole thing. Because I was in the recap, which is what they should be, focusing on. And it's like a big ship that's trying to turn, is what it feels like, and it shouldn't be that way. But they like slow burn.
Yeah. So, okay, so since we're talking about the finale already, let's make a bet. What are the odds that the finale is going to be good and feel like a finale?
And based on the trailers that we've seen, probably like 60-40 maybe. Because that's kind of been how this whole season has been. Like there's some really good episodes, and then there's some episodes that aren't necessarily bad, but
So there's a 60% chance that it will feel like a finale.
yeah, and that it'll. I mean, I think there's like more of an 80% chance that it'll feel like a finale, but then like a 60% overall that it'll be good.
Mm.
Like based
I
on
mean,
those,
has Titans gotten a finale right yet? Like if we're counting the first episode of the season a finale, right? Then neither of the finales that they've done so far have been good.
yeah,
Watch
Well,
Raven just come in and send and like mind and use her like mind powers to have like Jericho possess her body, and then they just give it to a like dead corpse, and then Jericho like is just the dead corpse.
Well, where I like to speculate is Cadmus created the Connor, which is a clone, so they can probably create a human, shell. As otherwise, that all it needs is that spark, the consciousness, and then
Mm.
he'll have a new body, and it'll look just, and it could be somebody who looks just like the actor. It'd be like so weird.
And that's kind of what they did during Jeff Johns' Teen Titans, because that's where the whole Death Jericho transferring to Deathstroke kind of came from. And then after he came back, like he got his body back through a bunch of convoluted stuff with Brother Blood, but eventually he had to jump into the body of Match, who's like Superboy's Bizarro, and they couldn't figure out what to do with Match, so he kind of had to stay there, and that was like his permanent home for a while. So he was in like a corpse kind of, and also a clone.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting? Okay, so let's go over all the plot threads that they need to wrap up, right? So there's the Cadmus plot, right? There's the Nightwing plot. There's Rose and Jason. I have no idea what was going on with that like group of kids that like Raven was part of. She just kind of left them. Hawk and Dove. Like they spent so much time with Hank this week that it makes me think that he has to be a bigger part of the finale, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Like, what's not going to get wrapped up? Because something's not going to get wrapped up. And we're not even talking about Starfire's going to Tamaran.
I mean, I get the feeling that they're saving all of the Tamaran stuff for next season. I think.
Yeah.
I think at this point,
why would you try to conclude it this week? You know?
Yeah, there's just so much other stuff going on, and there's so much that you can get out of the Tamaran stuff that's probably going to be the plot for season 3. And I wouldn't be surprised if they left some of the Hank and Dove, or however you say their names, some of that stuff dangling, because I know that they've been trying to get a spin-off for them kind of since Titans premiered. So they might like try to use that as a way to start that up again.
So I'm trying to find right now, but there was this rumor that they were working on this like Hawk and Dove show. I'm trying to find where it is. Okay, so I found this in February at Richson, the actor of Hank, said that it might happen, that it's not out of the question. But I read something recently. I'm trying to find it. But what do you think about like the Hank stuff this week? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's just more like he's still kind of hooked on drugs, and he had like kind of, it was now it's like hitting rock bottom, but then like when he went to get his suit back, and he's like, no, that can't be the truth, and he may have had the change of heart, and he's gonna like show up at the just the right time in the next episode, presumably in costume.
Yeah. So I found it. Okay. So Rick Chin said the following: "We had an interesting deal going into the higher casting of season 3, where it was this duel. We'll put you on Titans for a bit and just see how those characters go. If it goes well, there's another deal for your own show. We want to do a Hawk and Dove thing, but we've got to figure out this platform first." So, and then he followed up by saying, "As we go into season 2, 3, and onward, we're just a part of the group." So I wonder if when the plan for when Titans or when Hawk and Dove spinoff would be, if that makes sense. Like, when would it be like going on right now? Like with the Titans conclusion, or where would you put it?
Well, we'd have to spin off probably next season to kind of give it the right kind of momentum. But they also don't want to, put too many heroes out there at one time because it'll oversaturate the market, so to speak. So with Stargirl coming out next spring on both the service and CW, let's see how that goes.
We'll talk about it a little later, but yeah.
So it's not a deal breaker for me if there's no Hawk and Dove spinoff. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but it's just another love story kind of bashing faces in.
Is that do you want a Hawk and Dove spinoff, or is there a different character you'd rather have a spinoff for?
I never really thought about having it, spin off too many things because Doom Patrol was kind of tied with Titans in a sense because they kind of introduced the characters, even though it was two different chiefs.
Yeah.
And they're technically two different universes, which is fine by me as well because I'll take it however I can.
I really want to see what they're going to do with Jason because I have a feeling Jason might die.
Yeah. I mean, that trailer says something about a Titan will fall or whatever, and he's, out of all the Titans, he's the one most known for dying, so he seems like the best bet.
Plus, he got really angry and started to feel like no one cares for him anymore, Like he had the falling out with Rose.
Yeah.
Remember after that cheesy, will you eat my hot dog? It's all natural with onions. It was like on the knee. I was like, will you marry me? But he changed his, said something else last minute. That was funny.
Yeah. It's also
I thought they were
weird
cute together, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it kind of feels like this whole season has needed to be a few different shows just to cover, because I like those two together, but they've gotten 10 minutes of screen time together, maybe 15 overall. So that relationship isn't really developed at all.
Mm-mm.
We saw them, for the first half of the season, we saw them bickering a little. And then there was that time she went into his room and they were listening to music. Then she saw that he had one of Jericho's records, got mad at him, left. And then all of a sudden they're running away together and living in Gotham, stealing other people's food.
They're just stealing someone's house temporarily. I'm really genuinely wondering where the people are they stole the house from. I honestly wonder if they if they tied him up and have him their mouth duct taped so they can't talk, and they've just been untaping him and just feeding him food and then just staying in the house and then keeping him chained.
I mean, that would be that makes them seem more like supervillains and kind of, it's a pretty bad thing to have them do. I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing anything with this, which they might not. It might just end up being they needed them to have some place to stay and that's where they're staying. But if they are doing something with it, I wouldn't be shocked if it ended up being Mercy Graves' house with her wife and kids. It's they established that they established that she has a family, and then they didn't really do anything with it.
I know, right?
And obviously she's.
They were trying to. No, they did do something with it. They were trying to quote unquote humanize her.
Yeah, it was a tropey kind of family scene in the car.
Although I found it interesting that Mercy was gay. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
There was kind of a vibe when you first meet her with Eve Watson, I thought, or at least some people wanted to think.
What? I'm sorry. You dropped out.
I thought there might have been a vibe when she's first introduced with respect to Eve Watson, or at least that's what DC Daily wanted to think.
That's interesting. It's funny that DC Daily spent a lot of time on that, because I don't actually watch most of DC Daily's recap stuff, because they never say anything negative. And sometimes it's just like, Like, has DC Daily ever said something negative?
Yes, they have actually. They kind of trashed the Wonder Woman 74 pilot with Kathy Lee Crosby, which
But have they
it was
trashed Titan, Swamp Thing, Young Justice, any of that? Doom Patrol? Ever?
no, but they still there was some very negative comments about that particular movie. I mean, it was like they did both sides. It was fair and balanced. But otherwise, that was the one time I heard bad things come out of their mouths about something.
It's a little like I just feel like DC Daily at times can feel a fake, and I used to just watch it for the news recap because I really enjoyed that. But now it's not the same.
Well, it is a cast because as opposed to like an actual panel with for the most, because they're either actors or in the business somehow.
Yeah, but it's just weird, that like it's just they have like this thing every time where they're like the opinions that they express are their own and not DC's, which basically says they can be negative if they want, but then they're not really negative.
I know what you mean. They I guess they don't they know where they're what's the phrase that I want to use. You don't bite the hand that feeds, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like watching it. I like listening to their opinions. It's it's like an opinion show. So, and it's about something because I'm saving up all their cat recaps on Crisis while I do the book club. So that way I don't get ahead of I want to be ahead of them as opposed to them being ahead of me.
Yeah, that's fair.
And sometimes their interviews are pretty good actually with depending on who's interviewing in a sense, but usually they're pretty good interviews.
Like the one that they did earlier this week, I think, with Nicole Maines. That was a pretty good one. Usually, I don't watch it all that often. It kind of depends on what they're doing. Like any time that I know there's somebody that I want to see, or if they're doing another fan appreciation episode, then I'll watch it. But
And a lot of times I'll save it till the end of the week and kind of have like have my marathon of DC Daily.
Yeah. So, what would you guys rate this episode out of 10?
I'm going to give it an 8 because they're trying, despite their whatever holes that that they skip over, whatever. Because I think they're going to come together because the final scene was Beast Boy getting activated to do whatever damage he was going to do because it's a trick to get Cadmus into the right place, and they're gonna be foiled somehow because they're the evil corporation. But we should see Nightwing in action finally, and it should hopefully be a good, more or less conclusion, even though they leave some things dangling, which is fine.
Well, what are the odds that Cadmus actually gets thwarted in this episode?
I mean, is Cadmus ever like thwarted? They're kind of just like they're defeated for a time, but they're a major corporation. Like maybe Mercy.
But what are the odds that Beast Boy is still with Cadmus at the end of this episode? At the end of episode 13.
It's Beast Boy as well as Connor, and who knows what they're doing to Crypto. But yeah, it's not necessarily like thwarted, like completely destroyed. Like they're just this battle is won, but they lay in wait because they're a corporation.
I honestly
Yeah.
feel like there's a 60% chance that this Beast Boy plot doesn't get resolved.
I'm really
And it'll
hoping
be
that
end on like a cliffhanger where like Gar
yeah,
gets like red hair or something.
yeah. I'm really hoping that Cadmus is experimenting on Beast Boy to try to get him to turn into Crypto, so then can have two Cryptos at once.
You think they're trying to turn Beast Boy into Crypto?
I don't think that's what they're doing, but I want that to be what they're doing.
I don't like that.
The Beast Boy is the tiger, so it's always going to be the
Beast
tiger.
Boy is much more than just Crypto. I mean, Beast Boy can also turn into a snake, but it seems we've forgotten that.
When I first saw the snake, it was like, when did he learn how to do that? Because it was always about, I'm the tiger. It was never really anything else other than the tiger. And I thought that was a weird kind of thing that threw in, because I wasn't sure how he was going to survive. And then when I saw the snake, great that he survived, but when did he learn how to do the snake in so quick to save himself?
Yeah. I don't know. I just have this ongoing gripe with Titans this last like couple episodes where it feels like the Titans have not been the Titans because they haven't. They've just been broken up the entire season, and I'm just kind of sick of it. Like I'm looking forward to the
Yeah.
season 2 ending just so I can just say it's over, which is kind of sad that I feel that way, but it's kind of where I'm at.
That's fair. Yeah, I want to see how it ends. I think there was a warning that they weren't going to be the Titans for a while, and apparently they kept that promise.
See, but I thought when they said that was the warning, I thought that was because that was the season 1 spiel. Not like the end of season 2, they're not really the Titans.
No, you're right. But like the Titans was always like the family of choice, like Bruce Wayne was saying, and how by sticking together, you have the better chances and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the drama they're in, which is what I kind of like. That's what I'm drawn to, and so I'm looking forward to with Stargirl, because we should. Um, but it's I get what you're saying, and that's why sometimes the slow burn can like really not pay off for some people.
Yeah, I can get that. Oh, well, moving on. So, this week, let's talk about the new comics. So this week on DC Universe, we had Catwoman number 5, Detective Comics number 992, Electric Warriors number 1, Flash number 58, Hawkman number 6, Plastic Man number 6, Red Hood Outlaw number 28, Suicide Squad number 48, Supergirl number 28, 24, Superman number 5, Titans number 29, and Wonder Woman number 58. And if I'm being honest, I have not read any of these. We also have Detective Comics number 334, Doom Patrol number 8, House of Mystery number 188, House of Secrets number 119, Nathaniel Dusk number 4, Strange Adventures number 218, Superman number 12, and Sun Devils number 2. So I didn't read any of these this week, but what'd you guys read?
I didn't read it this week, but I read Electric Warriors last year when it first came out.
Ooh, so tell me, what is the series?
It's supposed to take place in between Commandy, Last Boy on Earth, where the world's like overrun, like animals have evolved into sapient creatures, and then humans have kind of de-evolved into more caveman-like people. And then, so like that's before Electric Warriors, and then after Electric Warriors is the time of Legion of Superheroes. So then Electric Warriors is like kind of bridging that gap. So like there's still the animal people, but humans have started to come back and started reforming their society. And it's
So it's for people who are interested in like the future sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, it deals with the United Planets, like in Legion. It's like it's different from Legion because in order to like they've got like this Hunger Games type scenario in order to keep peace between all the planets. Any problems that the different planets have with each other, they each have a warrior, an electric warrior, to go into the arena and fight. Whoever wins that debate. And then Electric Warriors, the book is about how Earth kind of needs two because there's the human society and the animal society. So as Earth is entering the United Planets, there's the human and the animal who's an octopus, and it's I don't remember it super well, but it is pretty good.
So you liked it?
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean it's still like very deeply rooted in DC lore and stuff. Like Superman's cape plays a major role in it, and like I said, the United Planet stuff. But it is all new characters, and there's not many tethers to the regular DC universe. So the fact that it was able to, introduce all these new characters and all these new concepts and still remain interesting throughout the 6 issues or whatever it was, is pretty impressive. Like most comics now kind of rely on, if it's a Superman comic, who Superman is, what he's doing, and that is established, and then it's just whatever Superman is doing now. With Electric Warriors, it's a whole bunch of new stuff, and you've got to get familiar with it and learn to like these characters. And so I thought it was really good, considering all of that. It's
so a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tran, so if you're a fan of sort of out of continuity future stuff, this will be fun, and it should be fun, like a gap bridger. If you're curious about some of like the future, if you're not a fan of the future stuff, and you only care about like the present, this isn't necessarily for you. And who's writing it? Who wrote it?
I believe Steve Orlando.
I don't know how I feel about Steve Orlando.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I've read by him I haven't liked that much, but like I said, Electric Warriors was pretty good.
Okay. I think like I'm like double checking to make sure I'm not going crazy with like what he's written. And yeah, like, and I will say this, Martian Manhunter, which is I think about to come to DC Universe. Wait, yeah, my understanding is about to come to DC Universe, is really good. I think it comes next month, and that's what I've heard, and so I think I'll end up liking it a lot. He also wrote Moon Knighter and Apollo, The Unexpected, which isn't that good. I don't like The Unexpected. He wrote bits and pieces of Wonder Woman comics. He's wrote part of the Commandy Challenge, and he wrote Supergirl Rebirth, which is kind of messy, and Batman / The Shadow, and the DC Nuclear Winter Special, the one that with the story that Tom King didn't write. So it's not a whole lot to his name, honestly. Like I felt like there was more. Oh, he wrote Justice League of America with with Panic of the Microverse, the Rebirth series. There you go. So, I guess this is my question. Like, am I missing something? Because I feel like he's written more than that.
I think he might have written Batwoman at some point. Either, like, I think towards the beginning of that, somewhere in the Rebirth run of Batwoman. But I can't think of anything else that.
No, he didn't. He wrote. Yeah, I don't know what he wrote. That's how. I'm sorry, you guys. Oh, he's writing Gotham City Monsters right now. That's where I was like, I feel like his name came up fairly recently. Anyway, that's all I. Oh, he also. Oh, that makes sense. He also wrote He wrote what's it called? Night of the Monster Men, which is
that's
wonderful. So that's
might,
that series.
that might have
What
been
else?
why I was associating him with Batwoman then.
Yeah, that would make sense. Flash number 58 is out. And have you guys been keeping up with the Flash series?
Sorry, no, I have not.
Okay, so do you remember when they introduced the Slow Force?
The Slow Force. No.
Okay, so have you guys been reading Justice League?
Bits and pieces
Of Snyder's Justice League? Okay.
Yeah.
One of for
Yeah.
the opening arc, they introduced the Slow Force, which is like the opposite force of the Speed Force, which like has a desire to slow everything down. It's like a dark force, and as part of the Flash's war with Wally, they sort of blow up the Speed Force and the protective barriers that are keeping in certain forces. So now the Sage Force and the Sage Force and the what's the other force called? The Strength Force. The Sage Force and Strength Force are also there, and and they've been spending time introducing the two forces, and I think it's fine. They're not as exciting as one would hope. That's all I have to say on that.
Yeah.
Sage like the herb?
No, Sage like wisdom, mind tricks.
Oh, I think it's spelled the same actually, but all right, that's fine.
Like Sage is the word for wisdom.
I get it.
But I love the idea that it's actually just the Sage Force. It's like this like herb force, but only works with Sage. It's like I'm the mint force. Ooh. Also, go check out Hawkman. The first arc is done. It's called Hawkman Awakening, and it's really fun. Hawkman develops a whole lot. So, should I spoil the opening or not?
I'm gonna say no.
No. Okay, check it out then.
I'll try.
The opening is really big, and if you're a fan of Hawkman or just interested in you want to learn more about who he is, they do a great job making him understand. Also, don't read Detective Comics' current arc. It's not very good. Deface to Face is bad, kind of sleepy, and then to make it all worse, it's in the next two issues at the end of the month, or at the end of next month. That is, Tomasi's taking over, and that's wonderful. And that's the start of his run. So I would just wait for that. That's all I have to say about all this. Oh, Red Hood Outlaw is wonderful.
Yeah, I remember reading Deface to Face back when it was coming out too. I didn't think it was all that bad, but it was also like I was just reading it to get it done so that I could get into Tomasi's stuff,
Yeah, I have the trade. I made the mistake of buying the trade before I read it, and I was like, it's gonna be on DC in like a month and a half. Should I buy the trade or not? Because I have some of the Detective Comics, so I was like debating, and then I ended up getting it, and I was really disappointed. And I haven't even like read the whole thing. I'm just reading it with DC Universe. It's super weird. I'm just so boring. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I've got
sorry to complain.
I've got all the singles starting at Rebirth because it's the only series that I've really been able to keep up collecting. So I was reading it like, every other week, and it was like I didn't think it was that bad, but coming off of James Tynion the Fourth's run, like that was really good, and then sandwiched in between Tomasi's run, which is also really good. It's just like, I don't think it's bad, but it's also just kind of there.
By the way, for those who are wondering, Nathan, aren't you like the person who's supposed to like know everything about like current comics? My response is two things: college And I'm reading Jonathan Hickman, everything. So, yeah. Jonathan Hickman's wonderful, but he hasn't written for DC yet. Although he said that his only dream projects left are DC Comics. So, cross your fingers in like 3 decades when he finishes his 3-decade X-Men plan that he'll come over as like an old man and like do something.
Or in 2 years, by the time that Marvel figures out a brand new way to screw him over, and then he decides to come over to DC, because that's probably going to happen at some point.
I don't think Marvel's going to screw Hickman over anytime soon. Hickman's literally like their biggest selling, like X-Men as quickly became their biggest selling franchise in the comics. Literally every issue of the new X-Men reboot, including spin-off series, is in the top 10 for the month.
But back when he was on Avengers, that was always one of the best-selling titles too.
Yeah, he's so good.
And then he had like this whole grand scheme that he started in Fantastic Four, and he was doing through Secret Wars, and then Marvel kind of messed everything up with the Fantastic Four, and he left. So they've already done it once.
Apparently, according to reports, he didn't actually leave. He just spent the last 2 years working on East of West and planning for the X-Men reboot.
Okay.
Like, it's actually crazy. Marvel's like, we're after Extermination was done, they're like, well, we're done with the X-Men. We don't really have anything. So anyone just want to do whatever they want with the X-Men for like a month, for like a year? Because we don't have anything to do with the X-Men, because we're about a year away from Hickman taking over. So why don't we just give it to someone who wrote like a really, really bad like X-Men line? It was really messy. Not much of the last year of X-Men has been good. And then Hickman took over, which apparently was planned 2 years ago, and it was wonderful. Anyway, enough about Marvel and Hickman. We're a DC podcast, and we have some news to talk about. So, CW will be sharing exclusivity rights with DCU for Stargirl. This is DCU's official statement, okay? Official statement. The last light in the DC firmament is set to radiate in the second quarter of next year. Oh, the latest light. I was like, the last light's a pretty bad way to say it. Okay. That's right. Stargirl will debut on DC Universe in the spring of 2020, which is like the third delay for the record. Each episode of the show, starring Breck Bassinger in the title role, will arrive on the CW network the day after it drops on DC Universe. New episodes will be released weekly, with the premiere date to be announced later. Stargirl episodes will also be available to view on the CW's free digital platforms following their broadcast on the CW network. Here is the show's official description. The DC Universe drama series Stargirl follows the high school sophomore Courtney Whitmore, as she inspires an unlikely group of young heroes to stop the villains of the past. This new series reimagines Stargirl and the very first superhero team, the Justice Society of America, in an unpredictable series. So I have a theory about this, and it comes from a new rumor, okay? I'm going to pull it up, though. So what do you think of the CW stuff?
I don't have a problem with it. Let it get the exposure that, if it's worth it, and we get more, whether it's on DCU or CW, I'm okay with that, because it'll be more.
Yeah, and like, I can kind of understand why it might be frustrating if if you want DC Universe because you feel like you're going to be getting exclusives, but it's still way easier to watch it on DC Universe because it comes out first, and you don't have to sit through commercials. You can watch it whenever you want. And if it's on the CW, then there's more likelihood that she's going to be crossing over with the other shows. I know Stargirl's already in the Arrowverse.
That's what my theory was, and I found proof, okay? This report comes courtesy of Screen Rant. DC Universe show Stargirl will air on CW, and, in parentheses, and she may be in crisis. Okay? And going to the crisis part, blah 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 blah. I've gotta find it in the article. Something about there we go. And a new update by Business Insider suggests Stargirl, portrayed on the CW by Breck Bassinger, will be potentially introduced during Crisis on Infinite Earths, and that her reveal will elaborate on how the character relates to the larger DC Comics extended live-action universe. That's a mouthful. So, if this is true, I'm going to pull up the Business Insider article. What does this mean? And what is her connection to the larger DC universe?
Well, she's one more character in the DC universe, and that she shares the same kind of, she touched the same universe as Flash and Supergirl. And I'm looking forward to the Black Lightning portion of the Crisis.
I know, right? But Black Lightning won't have its own episode. That's fine.
But yeah, it'll be a good cameo kind of a thing, like the way they did Batwoman in the Elseworlds crossover.
Yeah. It kind of feels like there's not really going to be room for her, though. I'm curious to see how that goes. Like, if it's just... Because it sounds like there's a lot riding on her appearance, if she does appear. It's not like, like with the rumored appearances of the Titans, it's supposed to be like one scene where they're watching stuff happen, and they're not really playing a big part in the plot. It's just an acknowledgement that they exist.
Yeah.
But with Stargirl, it's like actually actively building stuff up. And with Elseworlds, it kind of worked with Batwoman because the whole thing was pretty much just to set up Crisis. So setting up one more thing kind of fit within that, especially since Batwoman is needed for Crisis.
Yeah.
But with Crisis being the payoff, it could be messy to try to set something new up in it. But
yeah, I can see that.
I
think it'll be kind of like the Batwoman thing, where it'll be like, where I'll be like, she'll get like 10 minutes of screen time, and then like most of that 10 minutes will be focused on like whatever her larger role is in the DC universe, and the bigger DC live action universe is how it's officially worded, and that's in quotes. I don't know what it's quotes for, but I'm curious to see what how this will end up working. And 10 minutes, and I wonder if that's part of why it's debuting on the CW, is because, or it's being included on the CW, is because the DC universe needs more money, right? So that they can keep up with Titans and Doom Patrol. They're getting Doom Patrol funding from HBO Max, so now they're getting Stargirl funding from CW. And I'd be curious to see what will end up happening when and with I think they want to make him in the Arrowverse, because then it'll have instant viewers, right? Like any Arrowverse show would get instant viewers, right? Like think about Batwoman.
yeah,
more or less. I was thinking, the actual appearance in the whole Crisis thing could be just a quick, she comes in at the nick of time, and then she disappears, and they even like do a call like, was she with you? I thought she was with you. But and then we'll see how. Again, it was one of those things where I want to see it play out.
Yeah.
Not that we've been waiting for this long, because you're right about the delays. I agree, but we got a new date, so let's hope.
That's true. I'm just very curious to see what'll end up happening with this, and I'm really excited for Crisis, you guys. And it's so fun. I was looking. I was planning the TV report for this week, and I was like, oh, because I realized how close Crisis is.
Yeah.
So you want to do so we're going to move on to if you guys are ready to move on, we're going to move on to the TV report, and then we'll jump back and we'll talk about Titan Season 3, and maybe some DC Comics solicitations. You guys can help me decide because we have more time than I anticipated. So this week, this is your weekly TV report. Dun 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 dun. Wait, how's it start again? Oh my god. Dun 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 dun
It's not Al's
dun
thing.
dun dun
So
dun dun dun.
it's whatever
News
he wants to do.
report. There we go. Dun 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 dun. News report. This week on Sunday we have Watchmen episode 6, This Extraordinary Being. And then on Monday, we have Black Lightning episode 6, Book of the Resistance, chapter 2. On Tuesday, we have Flash episode 7, The Last Temptation of Barry Allen, part 1. I think that part 1 is interesting because I don't think any CW show has had a part 1 in the title. Arrow episode 6, Reset. Titans episode 13, Nightwing. I like that the Titans final episode is named Nightwing, though.
Yeah.
Feels fitting, you know?
Yeah.
Also, no Supergirl or Batwoman tomorrow.
Yeah, so the reason why that excitement played me was because they're saving it I want to say next week, which is going to be the mid-season finale, and then it's Crisis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I might as well just get caught up, so I'm ready to go, and then watch all whatever they release all at one shot because that's the only way to watch it.
Wait, what are you saying?
I like to, I like to save up episodes so I can watch a few at a time, just to kind of, gauge the pacing and whatnot, and see what they throw at me. But with Crisis, they're gonna break it up over the holiday, so I figure I'll stay caught up and watch it as they release them, and then when it's actual Crisis, wait, and then have my
You're
little
going to wait
my
for
little marathon.
Crisis? You realize there's no chance it's not going to get spoiled, right?
I have to watch. It's tough, but I've
You're going to
developed
wait.
I've developed my skills, and I can hopefully avoid being spoiled. If I get spoiled, then I'll watch it. But if I don't get spoiled, I can wait.
There's
I can watch
literally
it on
no way it's not going to get spoiled for you.
Well, I can hope, and I can do my best. I haven't decided yet. I still have time, so I still have to catch up on whatever I got to catch up on.
Okay,
I
I
got
think you're
left.
going to bite yourself in the foot. But you never know.
I know what you mean. It's tough. It's because you can get spoiled by the titles that some people post. So maybe not. I don't
Also,
know.
just so you know, the week after, which is so next week's actually okay, I'm not going crazy. So next week's titles, Batwoman is episode 8 is called A Mad Tea Party. Watchmen is An Almost Religious Awe. Supergirl is The Wrath of Rama Khan, whoever Rama Khan is. Do you guys know who Rama Khan is?
It sounds vaguely familiar,
Okay.
but
Then Black Lightning. This is interesting. Black Lightning's title is The Book of Resistance, Chapter 3, The Battle of Franklin Terrace. Like with all the books, they've just been saying The Book of Resistance, Chapter 3, The Book of Resistance, Chapter 2. But with this one, they have an extra title, which is The Battle of Franklin Terrace. So I think it's
Yeah, they've
really
been adding a little bit
contributed.
to it. I like the one with
Yeah.
Odell's secret plan or whatever it was. It was a good call.
I haven't seen the new season of Black Lightning yet, but I hear it's wonderful.
I like it. I thought season 2 was a little slowish, but it was, it focused on the younger sister and what, getting her to, over to play hero, so to speak. And this season has been really good. And I don't want to spoil it.
Okay, well, why don't we do this? Can you give us a basic rundown of how the season's gone, in order to convince us to watch it, and then because we did an Arrowverse check-in 2 weeks ago, but we didn't include Black Lightning. The other options we can wait till next week, and then they'll make sure, or wait till for 2 weeks from now, and then we'll do a giant Arrowverse everything episode. I'll let you decide.
I can talk a little bit about Black Lightning because I've been watching it from
Okay.
the beginning. Season 1 was for me. It was much as about him trying to get back with his wife, as much as his abilities and what was thrown at them, and so on. because then in season 2, it was a little bit more about they. Wait, I have to start over because they started in season 1 when the younger sister started manifesting her abilities. Jefferson was like, I want you to be, okay with being whoever you are, but this is part of you, and we'll deal with it as, and then like they kind of don't deal with it like a typical family, which is why I like it. So it's the right kind of soap, the way I like to describe it. As in a soap opera, but like, it's a good drama, and like how people are kind of like, kind of say, hey, you said you were going to do that. Why didn't you do that? That kind of stuff.
Well, aren't they having a war right now?
Yeah, so at the end of season 2, Odell was like, the war with Markovia has begun, and when they say Markovia, all I can think of is Brion Markov, and I really want to see how
Right.
they do Geoforce, but we're waiting for that to happen. So it's a lot of like, covert ops and CIA stuff, because Odell is a manipulator and a half. He's like, like I don't want to say the Penguin on crack, Gotham's Penguin on crack, but he is ruthless. And I loved.
I got what happened last episode with Odell spoiled for me. But that's the only thing I know about this new season, which is kind of crazy.
But and I really like Tobias Wales. Was in the second season he was a little bit more brutal, but then like he looked like he was like losing it because he was talking to his dead sister.
Yeah. And then I really like that they've kept Tobias around. Like think about how often the Arrowverse just throws away characters. Like the best villains just get thrown away and move on. So I'm glad to hear Tobias is still back. So you recommend watching this, right?
I definitely start with season 1. If that really doesn't
Right.
catch you, then it's not really worth it. But I like the way they did it. They throw in a few political moments, but that's just comics for me. So to me, it works.
Yeah.
So it's fine. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could say that would totally convince you, and I'm blanking.
Well, score it out of 10. Score the new season so far out of 10.
I want to say 9.
Amazing.
And
wow.
Season 2, I would say almost an 8, and season 1 was like more. I want to say 9, but like 8.5. I'll go because it was still kind of feeling itself out.
Well, I think what's so beautiful about Black Lightning is that at heart it's really a family movie, not a superhero movie. And I don't know if that stays true this season, but I've always loved that about Black Lightning. I'm still on season 2, of course, which is really bad, and I should watch episodes. I have them all recorded, but I haven't finished, so that's my fault. Is there anything else for us to cover this week?
Let me think. I could talk about the comic books that I want to read.
Okay, what do you want to read? I want to hear this.
Well, part of it is just most of the book clubs. I got to catch up on World of Wonder and the final pre-crisis Wonder Woman run, which is the tie-in. And then the Superboy, and then the Superman book club was talking about Adventure Comics with Connor 2009, which I happened to read and I wanted to get back to, which I thought was pretty good. So I was able to throw my 2 cents in on that, even though I'm not really a member of that club. What else is there? And I want to get back to Crisis because revisiting that has been interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, keep going.
Because at the time I was reading Teen Titans or the New Titans and Batman and the Outsiders, and seeing them on the same page was like, especially the first time, blew me away, and it was just fun to remember that particular moment was good. And then I'm kind of on schedule with their schedule, but not what I want to get ahead if possible.
So, how much do you think Black Lightning's actually going to get included in Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Like, I only go by with what I saw on the trailer, because it sounds like he says my world is gone and you want me to help you fight, and the whole, because when heroes meet they have to fight a lot of times, usually each other. And when he said my world is gone, it's about trying to convince him to, that he'll find a new home and see who survived and whatnot. So it all depends on when they do it, though. Also, do you know what the schedule is?
For Crisis? Well,
Yes.
Black Lightning. So we don't know. Black Lightning doesn't get an episode in Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Because I know he's part of one of the trailers. Because I remember seeing somebody put together all 5 of the Crisis trailers for each show, which was interesting.
Yeah, but I think the Black Lightning one was aired on a different, Arrow or something. Because Black Lightning, or it might have been aired on Black Lightning, but Black Lightning doesn't get an episode space. It starts with, I think, Batwoman and Supergirl, and then it's Legends special. I think it's like a Legends special episode, and then it's Flash and Arrow, I think, ends it. I think. Don't quote me on that, please. Doesn't really matter anyway. But the point is Black Lightning doesn't get an episode. And Legend of Tomorrow it's not going to be called episode 1. It's not going to be the premiere of the season 4. It's just going to be like a Legend of Tomorrow special episode.
So it's gonna be it'll be a 5 episode before the. Wait, I should really be more up on this.
It's fine. Crisis is 5 episodes. I want to say 3 before, and then 3, then Christmas, then 2.
All right,
so
there's
a 2-week gap or so between the second batch and the first batch.
Yeah, that I'm gonna hate. I'm gonna hate them for that.
And then you're gonna try to not get it spoiled.
No, I was gonna watch the 3 episodes. I was hoping to watch them all back to back instead of one at a time. But I might have to. But actually, given my schedule, I probably have no choice and watch them back to back. And based on my schedule and my lack of internet touching, I won't get spoiled, so I should be okay.
I'm gonna wish you good luck, and just assume that's not happening.
I'm very low tech, and if I'm not actively looking online, my obsolete desktop, I'm not looking at the internet. My phone doesn't have any kind of apps.
Okay.
But I appreciate the luck. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, let's make a bet. I'm gonna predict you're gonna get something spoiled for you, and I'm gonna say there's about 99.9% chance. And I'm going to say that if I'm right, you have to go on the podcast and say something of my choice. Word verbatim.
That's a tough one. I don't know if I can take that bet. I'm not a gambling man.
And if you win and you get nothing spoiled, then you get to make me say something, anything you want on the podcast.
Nah, it's not. I'd rather the gentleman's bet, where you're probably right. Something might get spoiled on me. I'll see how it goes. But the way I live my life and my low tech world and lack of social media, because if I avoid DC Universe,
so are we taking this bet or not?
And if it's only 3 episodes, I can probably catch it at the right time and not be spoiled. But
okay. So we're taking this bet.
No, we're not taking this bet, but I'm fairly confident that I won't get spoiled.
In you. Well, that's all for this week. We are on Podbean, Google Play, SoundCloud, and YouTube. So subscribe to all our services. And by the way, we are not on Apple Podcasts because Nightwing is a bird and birds resist gravity. And that's a reference to Apple's resulting in the discovery of gravity. That was a bad one.
Not bad.
Really? Did you get it?
No, you had to explain it to me.
That's very disappointing. I was hoping it would work. I was like, what are the odds this would work? And I decided the odds were I'm also very much stalling right now, if you can't.
I like that you worked in, the whole, because apples were part of the whole discovery of gravity thing, and you should have just ended there. That would have been perfect.
Well, I had to stall because I have to type in something to end the recording. But anyway, remember, next week we have Joshua Lappenbertone on with DC News, and that'll be our special Thanksgiving sort of celebration. I don't know if we'll include any Thanksgiving because I think we're recording it on Black Friday. But anyway, which is, by the way, is like the worst thing ever. It's like you say how thankful you are, and the next day it's like, I need stuff. You know? Anyway, have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Have a good one. Thank you.